What's up everyone, Corey here with Gaming Tavern, back with another review. And I'm super excited about this one. It's another Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game, and if you have seen any of my past reviews, you know that I am always hyped for Ninja Turtle games, but the bar is pretty low. However, this time we are taking a look at Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Splintered Fate, and it might just turn the tides here. So a little bit of backstory on this one. Splintered Fate, as I will call it, came out on mobile, Apple Arcade. So this is technically a mobile game ported over to eventually some consoles and PC, and now Xbox gets it last. And I'm so glad it's here, and I'm glad I got a chance to play it. So what is it? Well, it is a roguelite game with a Ninja Turtle skin on it. So immediately in your mind, think of Hades or another roguelite game where you are fighting different rooms, progressing, getting random boosts and stat increases, and when you die you lose all of that, but typically there's some kind of currency that you can put towards permanent upgrades. That's what this game is, and it is actually really fun, really great. So just like you would expect with any Turtles games, you play as the Turtles, and all four are available to choose from. There's also a DLC character, Casey Jones, and at least at the launch of this game on Xbox, you get that DLC for free. That's a limited time thing, so if you're watching this afterwards, it will probably cost a few bucks here or there. I don't know the actual price, but I will say that I did enjoy playing as Casey Jones, so take that for what it's worth. Each turtle or Casey does play a little different. However, once you get into a run and you kind of get the perks and stuff that come up, they can kind of start to feel a little bit of the same, so it doesn't matter too much. But there are, little things about each one that make them unique for sure. So that is nice in that, it's all different. Once you're in a run, so let's just talk about how the gameplay works. You go in and you start out in the sewers, and you go in and you fight some enemies. Like I said, you just clear the room. There's probably going to be a few waves of enemies, and when you are done with that wave, you get a random perk. It could be extra currency, it could be a certain skill, it could be pick a power. It's all up to you what you pick, but the options are given are limited and obviously RNG based. So once you do that, you move on to the next room, so on and so forth. Eventually, within each chapter, there is a shop. So as you are progressing, you are collecting scrap, and that's where you spend this currency. I like to call it temporary currency because it's only good during your runs. Once the run's over, you lose everything you had. That scrap currency does nothing. But here you basically get another reward of some kind. You may be able to purchase health or increase your health. There's a couple of things you can do here, and then you're back into the run. At the end of every run is a boss battle, or at the end of every chapter rather, there is a boss battle, and then the same thing happens. You move on to the next chapter. There's only 4 chapters in this game, and with the Casey Jones DLC, at some point you are able to pick which path you go, and that determines which side you go and which bosses you face for that particular chapter. But that's kind of it. It does add some story beats to it, but it's just another scenery to look at, because like I said, there's only 4 chapters. You are going to be seeing a lot of the same scenery, fighting the same enemies. There's not a big variety of them. That's probably my biggest downfall for the game, and you know what, I'll take it, especially considering this was a mobile game technically to start. Now the real chunk of the replayability of this game, as most roguelites are, comes in subsequent runs. Like I said, you get currencies that will stay with you, and they help you upgrade your characters permanently. Now you don't have to pick a certain turtle or a certain character to upgrade. You just pick the upgrade and it applies to everyone. So if you want to increase your attack power by 10, 20, 30%, that's going to apply to all the characters across the board. So that's another nice thing. There are special currencies that you get in the game, and you only get them by defeating certain bosses. So you will have to go at least up until that point, and they help you generally increase stats and upgrade like better parts about your character, so it's worth it to focus in on those as well. Some of them actually make you pick a certain character to beat that boss or get to that certain point, so that actually gives you some enticement to play as multiple characters. Of course, you're probably going to have your favorite, but it is worth your time and effort to go and play it differently with other characters. And you don't need like an absorbent amount of those currencies. For one I'm thinking of, you just had to beat that particular boss with that, each character 3 times. That's not absurd thing to ask. So it's another way for the developers to kind of push you along to try different characters. Now, where I have the most fun with this game is trying out different builds. With the random powers you get, there are some things that you can get and do to influence those, and you can really start to see which elemental powers and which skills mesh together. And in fact, the build I used to complete my first run was a shuriken build, and by the end of it, by the time I got to the final boss, I was throwing so many shurikens, they were doing crit damage and they were boomeranging back to me. So it was like a constant barrage on the enemy, and I didn't even have to be near them. So it happened to be a really OP build, and it was really fun to research and to build. Obviously you have to get lucky with RNG, but that's kind of the case for all these games. Now, the real replayability comes after you actually beat the game for the first time. Once that happens, you have to go through it again. The story does provide you a reason that you have to do that. Whether it's a good one or not is beside the point. And on these subsequent runs, I'll call them in-game runs, you are actually given, the game ramps up in difficulty because you are given not only the choices and the powers like normal, but you can choose to take on challenges and harder enemies. And that usually happens at the end of a room. A portal will open and you can choose to go the normal way, or you can go through this portal, and it will tell you the possible rewards you may get. Some of them are only redeemable if you go that way and complete the run. So there's a lot more to this game. I think a handful of hours will probably get you through the first run. And then I would guess that getting through this end game, like really hard stuff and building your characters, that's going to give you at least another couple dozen hours probably. So there's a lot to do in this game, and I'm excited to keep chipping away at it, because every run, like I said, is progress. You're always getting some kind of currency that you can use at your base and use it for permanent upgrades, so that's a great thing. So this game is pretty great overall. Very little downsides. This mostly comes in terms of variety and what I'm seeing as far as the backgrounds go and stuff like that. It gets a little repetitive. The only thing I haven't mentioned that is absolutely worth mentioning in a game like this is something I don't see very often, and that is co-op. This game has full 4-player co-op, and it's cross-play, so you can play with other systems. It's a really great feature. I haven't got a chance to really do that, but I did some research, and it looks like all of your progress stays with you, so you don't have to worry about somebody, you're just helping somebody with their save. You are going to make progress as well, it looks like. Also, if somebody is really super powered or really good at this game, they played a lot of hours, they could carry a low-level person probably with relative ease. Now, it does seem like the enemies scale with more players, but that's probably a good thing in this case. You don't want it to be too easy. But yeah, that is my overview of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Splintered Fate. I really like this game, and it broke the Turtles review curse for me. This game is getting a thumbs up recommendation from me. To all my friends who've played Hades, I'm recommending this game to them. It may not be as complex as Hades, but I always have to give it the benefit of the doubt that this was a mobile game at first, and I think it plays well at the state that it's at. With it having some DLC, I could see this game either getting more, or if you were to ask me, I would say save it, make a sequel for consoles, and that game would be absolutely great. So yeah, I'm super happy with this one. If you aren't already on xboxtavern.com, be sure to go there to check out my final score for the game. So happy there's a great Turtles game again. But that will do it for me. I will catch you in the next review.